Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Montana and I was an exchange student in Germany, but now I make videos on German and American culture. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I don't normally address in my videos. I haven't really addressed it in the past, and it's the question of whether or not Germans talk about World War II and what my experience was like once I moved to Germany. I know that my channel normally is on the more humorous side and more lighthearted, but I do think that this is a very valuable question, and it was something super eye-opening that I didn't expect when I went to Germany. I think that we can just have kind of a conversation about it, and I haven't really planned this video out too much. I just wanted to talk about my experience. So before I even moved to Germany, I thought it was always a bit unfortunate because when I would tell people that I was moving to Germany and that I got accepted into this scholarship program, Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange, the first reaction that I would receive from friends or even from just adults was, oh, why Germany? And they would always be alluding to the war. When I say the war, I mean World War II. And just always questioning why I wanted to go there. And my intentions on going to Germany were originally just to learn a new language. I didn't know any German at all before moving there, to experience a whole new culture and to be an exchange student and kind of open my mind up to the world. What I didn't realize was how much going on this exchange program would also open my mind up to the historical perspectives of others and finding out how much World War II really shaped Germany as a nation today. And I think that one of the most interesting aspects of living in Germany for so long and going to a German high school was realizing that Germans are much more open than you would think about talking about World War II. I was very surprised because I thought for sure that it was going to be this taboo topic that's never spoken about, but the majority of German people that I talked to about World War II were always so open, so willing to share their perspective and how they feel about it. That was just a super surprising aspect that I was not expecting. I guess just because a lot of the taboo topics in the United States, the human kind of result of those topics is that we just don't speak about them, or they're just ignored and it's kind of uncomfortable when you bring them up. So first we had this language camp where all of the American students were living in Bad Lasva, this super small town in the north. And we would have these sessions and learn about German culture and how things are kind of addressed or spoken about. So we definitely had a lot of sessions on that. And our camp counselors were all 20 to 30-year-old Germans. So they shared their perspective a lot. And of course they were probably more open than most people because that was one of their roles and one of their purposes as a counselor, was to kind of inform us on how things are and what things were like. But then also in my Gymnasium, we spoke about World War II quite a lot in history class. We spoke about it in English class as well, or not English class, English class a bit, not really. When I said English, I mean German class, so like German class in Germany. We spoke about that a few times. I think maybe one or two of the readings was on World War II, but my curriculum for history was very World War II focused. We learned, in addition to the World War II aspect and the Holocaust, we also learned about the Weimar Republic, which was before. And it was very surprising to me because in the United States, we learn about World War II a bit starting in 5th grade, but I know for sure 6th through 8th grade, which is middle school, that's when we really learned about the Holocaust and World War II and diving into what happened and the battles and the results and so on. So I was surprised that in Germany, the periods where they really focused on the war is so much later in school. In high school, we did talk about it briefly, but the majority of our history curriculum was super broad, and we would spend maybe a month max on the wars, and it would be World War I and II, oftentimes combined. My history teacher was so open about it. I think she did a super good job of talking about the war and giving us so many different materials to read and to look over. I remember distinctly that we did these group projects where we had to make these large posters on just different topics. She was just always very open. She asked me a lot of questions on how the curriculum is covered in the United States, and so it was really interesting to me because I didn't think that it would be that way. I just had this perception that we weren't going to talk about it too much and that it was something too taboo to really speak about. Another example of really an openness for speaking about World War II was my host family. They took me to the documentation center of the Nazi Party rally grounds, and this was a super large museum in Nuremberg. It was one of the most impactful things I think I did on my entire exchange. We spent maybe 2 or 3 hours in this museum, and there was an audio guided tour. I did it in English because at the time I just don't think I would have gotten the full impact in German, and I kid you not, I looked at almost every single thing in that museum. It was so heart-wrenching and so sad, but also just so crazy to see all of these artifacts and all of these photos of the Nazi Party rally grounds. And then directly after going to the museum, we went to the rally grounds and saw where this all took place. It really changed my perspective, because before that, I feel like when you learn about World War II, especially in the United States, you think that it's so far away, it's so far in our past. Yes, you understand this depth of how horrifying and how awful it was that so many people died, but there's still this layer of, oh, it's in the past and it's not so recent. But going to this documentation center and seeing things and looking at the dates and being there really just opened my mind to the fact that this happened pretty recently. And World War II is not so far removed from present day. So it really changed my outlook on everything and just my understanding of the Holocaust especially. That was a really impactful moment in my exchange, and something that I am so grateful that my host family went out of their way to take me to, because they really wanted me to see this part of German history and to understand and learn about it, because that was one of the reasons why I was there, and that's what I wanted to learn about. Another thing that I would say is that it's still a taboo in some ways. I don't want to come across as if every German person is just willing to talk about it every single day, because it's not like that. But I just wanted to emphasize that it's more open than I think most Americans think. And there are so many aspects of German culture that are still impacted by it. For example, national pride. I tell this story about how I bought these little German flags from a TD, which is like a Dollar Tree or dollar store in Germany. And I was like, why are they so cheap? They're like 15 cents. Like, why? National pride is just not the same as in the US, and the US is honestly kind of weird for how much we value national pride. But especially in Germany, just certain things like displaying the flag can come across as very weird, and it has a lot of roots in Nazi history and in nationalism, and it's a very different atmosphere, if that makes sense. Buying those flags, once I lived in Germany for a while, I understood why they were on sale and why it's just not as much a thing to be super prideful and representative. And then this came up again when just recently I put up this poll on whether or not I should buy a sweatshirt with Germany on it. A lot of people provided some feedback and said that the fonts on a lot of the sweatshirts were very Nazi-esque and that it wouldn't really be recommended to purchase them. And that was something that just as an outsider I didn't really think of, because in the US so many people wear United States, USA flags and shirts and sweatshirts. And so I was just looking up vintage Germany sweatshirts, and another thing that somebody noticed was there was this eagle symbol, and they were saying that that could also have ties back to the Nazi history. So Germany's past very much influences its present day culture, and I think it in a way always will, but this was my experience. I cannot speak for everyone. This is just how I felt and my thoughts. It was very, very different than what I expected. One thing that I would say is if you are intellectually curious and you want to learn more about World War II and German people's sentiments on World War II, I would really recommend looking up YouTube videos, or of course this isn't as easy for everyone, but going to Germany and going to those museums and doing your firsthand research there, because it makes a difference and it will open up your mind. I don't really feel like I can give a good clarification on how most German people feel about the war now and how it's impacting their daily lives, just because I'm not German and that's not my background. But I hope that this explanation and this little conversation kind of showed what it was like for me to go and live and experience 8 months in Germany, specifically in regards to this topic. So thank you so much for watching. If you have other interests on Germany, if you'd like to learn more about Germany versus America, please watch some of my other videos. And if you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe to my channel as well, because it really does help. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Bleibt gesund und tschüss!